Hello, and welcome to the Paranormal Operator Podcast, where we talk about all manner of things that go bump in the night. Here, we discuss sightings, investigations, news, and popular media surrounding the paranormal, supernatural, and occult phenomena. So settle in as we search for the truth. I am your host, Adam, Operator 23. In today's episode, is China to blame for our UAPs, and are these UAPs a threat? A UAP sighting from Australia, space weather, a video of a possible sasquatch or dogman from Texas, and a possible picture of the Loch Ness Monster. Ufology news and sightings. Our UFO news today comes from a couple of different sources. The first two we have are the Daily Mail and the Mirror. Both of those are UK sources. And then the third we have the Debrief, which is a publication, podcast, newsletter that I would definitely recommend you taking the time to subscribe. Their articles are a bit long-winded, but they're very well written. So, coming to the other side of the pond, we have this one from the Daily Mail, and it's dated the 27th of August. The other one is also dated the 7th of August. This one says, China may be to blame for UFOs. NASA chief says unidentified flying objects are real and may be, quote, unfriendly advanced technologies. Key takeaways are NASA experts have warned that UFOs may be advanced technology from China, and some also believe they could genuinely be evidence of life from other planets. So, I'm sorry for all the ads. I had to allow ads on this particular website, otherwise it wouldn't let me read it. But I just want to say the number of ads on this page is atrocious. There's more ads on here than anything. Anyway, getting back to the article. Both of these articles are basically the exact same thing. This one from the Mirror, NASA chief says UFOs are real but could be China using unfriendly advanced technology. And it basically, both these articles center around Dr. Thomas Zurbuchen, I'm pretty sure that's how you say his name, who is NASA's longest-serving administrator, believes in UFOs do exist, but they may be unfriendly advanced technology following the space agency's inquiry. So for those of you who don't know, NASA put together under their science directorate a UAP study group. And it wasn't that long ago that they actually started. Well, technically it's been almost a year. They started in October of 2022. And here this year, it wasn't that long ago that they had a public press briefing. And they were supposed to write a paper, which was supposed to be due out a month ago. And it's still not out. So we're waiting to see what they have to say. Regardless, the whole point of both of these articles is basically like, yeah, these UAPs, they do exist, but they very well could be a bunch of Chinese balloons. Now, I want to go on a slight tangent here and say that we did have a balloon that was shot down off the coast of South Carolina back in February of this year. Now, if you remember, that was one balloon. If I'm not mistaken, there were like 2 or 3 other quote-unquote UAPs that were tracked over Alaska and then shot down over Canada. And if my memory serves, we never recovered those things. And they've never actually been reclassified as balloons. They are still technically classified as UAP. So we have no idea what they are. And as far as I know, they're still out there in the wilderness if you want to go look for them. So, UAPs exist. NASA says it very possibly could be a hostile actor, a hostile nation. And who are they going to point the blame at? Well, China, of course. Why wouldn't they? They are, at the moment, the next biggest kid on the block. So, coming over here to the debrief, we have pilot UFO sightings collected by NASA reveal serious safety concerns over objects in U.S. airspace. And this particular one is dated August 29th. Now, as you can see, this is a pretty long article, so I'm not going to read all of it. I'm going to give you a few highlights, because obviously I want to give the debrief traffic, so go to their website and read their article, subscribe to their newsletter and their email, because that's how I get updates from them. So we're going to go over just a few things here. So first of all, from the debrief, we have several accounts of, well, pilots seeing UAPs, and they're being reported to NASA's Aviation Safety Reporting System. So NASA, even though they're not the FAA, they have this act as kind of a third party that to to make sure that details that need to be kept confidential are kept confidential. So they're like a third party observer sort of thing. The FAA is the one that actually, they are the ones that actually investigate the incidents and come up with, the policy and whatnot. So this first one we have is actually from this year. We have April 2023, and it was with a dark-colored object potentially as large as a small business-type jet aircraft. And what's kind of cool about this is not only did they have visual contact with this thing, but they also had a radar contact. So this thing was definitely in the air, and it was deemed a threat due to the risk of a mid-air collision. So very important things to note about that. And again, we have no idea what these things were. One very important thing about this one is the incident happened in a Class A airspace. And in a Class A airspace, you do have to have an ADS-B transponder. You have to be transponding because this is controlled airspace. If you watch Skinwalker Ranch, Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, they'll talk about the ADS-B and how people aren't transmitting. Well, in that particular area, it's not against the law not to transpond. But in Class A airspace, above these airports, it is absolutely illegal to not transpond. So this object in this incident was not transponding. Let's see here. We have another one from February of this year. And at first the guy, he saw the object, thought it was a reflection in his windscreen, but then he kind of moved around and figured out, hey, no, this is an actual object out there. And then, he got his other guy, his first officer, to look at it after he came back from the lavatory, and he saw it. And within minutes, other pilots came over the radio saying, hey, did you guys see that? So this is an object that was reported by multiple pilots, multiple credible, trained observers. Go on a tangent here really quick and then come back to it. So May of last year, we have a pilot instructor. So this guy is teaching someone else how to fly. was forced to take evasive action to avoid a mid-air collision with an object. Now, mid-air collision, you might assume, okay, he's close. And according to him, he was fairly close. So he immediately took controls, took evasive action to avoid a mid-air collision, and as we passed by the object, I was able to get a decent look at the object, but could not identify what it could possibly be. So you're close enough to hit the thing, and yet you don't know what it was. Granted, we also don't know how fast they were traveling. And then coming further down, we have one from December of 2021. Which had a sporadic flight pattern and flashing beacons. So you have lights. Quote, flight pattern is too erratic and beyond capabilities of traditional aircraft. Beacon was flashing white, no red or green position lights. End quote. So whatever this thing was, it was not an aircraft. And then there's other ones, but I'm gonna leave it at that, so you can read through the different reports. But the takeaway here is, these objects, whatever they are, they're real. They're up there, and we have no idea what they are. Now, this little kind of end tangent is very interesting because it talks about NASA having their study team. It also talks about the FAA and how they do or do not take or track sightings of UAP, right? So if you remember back to that NASA study conference, the study team conference, they said, oh yeah, no, we definitely do, at least for air traffic controllers, but he wasn't sure about pilots. So the FAA have been giving a few contradictory statements here, which they're the government, so that's just kind of par for the course. At any rate, I'll let you guys read the rest of the article here. And make sure to go to the debrief, give them a like, share, subscribe, all that good news. Podcasts, sign up for that. Their newsletter, they have good stuff. Very good, very good, very good journalism. So, yeah, they're there. We don't know what they are. And they're clearly a threat, or at least a potential threat. Because, we don't want them to collide midair. Are they balloons? I don't know. There was one in here that was like he thought it was a balloon, but then when he got closer to it, he's like, it's not a balloon. It's different. It's a bad shape. It's not the shape of a balloon. Then you have some that are saying, well, maybe they're UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, right? And it's possible for some of them. And then you have others who are saying, well, like with China, it's advanced technology from a hostile nation. But the simple fact of the matter is, we don't know. So why don't you tell me, what do you think? Comment. This week's sighting comes from the Canberra Times, and it was posted August 29th. Unfortunately, we don't have an article or anything to go along with this, just a short description. This video was shot on May 20th, 2022 on the ferry from Manly to Sydney by artist Jody Knowles, who suspects it was a UFO and has a new exhibit about UFOs. So if you want to look up who exactly Jody Knowles is, be my guest. Apparently she's an artist who has an exhibit on UFOs. At any rate, here is the video, and I'm going to play this. I'll put it up full screen. I'm going to take the audio off just to make sure it's not something that's copywritten. So there's the object, and it is supposedly a silver rotating orb, and you can see it rotate, although it might not actually be rotating. That might just be the shadow, but let's take a look at it. I mean, it does look like it's rotating, but I don't know if I'm completely sold or not. Now, here I think is kind of interesting, and I'll come back to this in a minute, because it looks like it morphs, or maybe it's rotating in a different direction. So let's come back to the beginning here. So we have this area over here. As the video progresses, it's going to look to me like it has a lobe over here. It goes from being circular to having a lobe on either side. So watch for that. Right here. So see how it kind of, it's like it's bulging on either side, maybe kind of at the bottom here where it's not round, although that could just be distortion depending on how far away this object is and how big it is. Especially in this shot, looks like it has a lobe here and then it has a lobe here. But again, skeptically, we have to look at this and say, well, it could just be the shadow. And, obviously it is impossible to tell size unless you know what the object is and roughly how far away it is. Nope, I don't want to do that. Okay, so that is the object in question, and it was spotted around Sydney back in 2022. Now, why do I bring this up? Ordinarily, I would just be like, that's kind of interesting, but, it's an older report. What does it have to do with, current stuff? Well, if you will remember, or if you've seen, Arrow, who actually have a website now. Congratulations, fellas. It took you long enough. And I'm not even sure if it's on their website, but I know it has been presented to Congress because they did it in one of their briefings. They have objects that look just like this guy flying through active war zones, our war zones in the Middle East. Although I don't know if they're technically still war zones or not, but at any rate, are these things, these small, these silver spheres that are flying that are not ours, and they're flying through our controlled airspace. So this could be one of those. Very possibly, it could be one of those. Now, on the other hand, it could also be just a silver mylar balloon that is not rotating. It's just a trick of the shadows and the fuzzy pixelation. Or it could be spinning. It could be, a balloon trapped in some turbulence. But, we don't know. It's inconclusive at best. So, you tell me what you think it is down in the comment section below. Now, for our space weather update. Over the weekend, we are going to be on the watch for some geomagnetic storms. A minor G1 class magnetic storm is underway on September the 2nd, which is today, the day of the recording, as Earth moves through a high-speed stream of solar wind. The storm is unrelated to two CMEs approaching Earth, one that left the sun on August 30th, and another which launched September 1st. The arrival of those CMEs will be expected to be on September 3rd and could extend the current storm and possibly enhance it to a Category G2. So, might have some radio disturbance coming up. Oh, also, this is pretty cool. We just had a blue moon, believe it or not, this weekend. The full moon is not only a blue moon, it's actually a super blue moon. So if you want to see some really cool pictures, you can check out spaceweather.com. Coming down here to our near-Earth asteroids. Not too many. We have a couple here in the red. Let's take a look, see. So we're going to be looking at the 2nd through the 9th. So let's come down. So there is nothing on the 9th. So no, don't do that. All right. So these are the ones we have to look out for. And let's see here. So our missed distance is going to be, at the very least, 10.6 lunar distance. So that's 10.6 times the distance of us to the sun, which is roughly, what is it? It's 239,000 roughly miles. So they're going to be well and truly far enough away that we shouldn't have to worry about anything hitting us. That being said, this guy right here, 75 meters in diameter, 2023 QG, which is going to make its pass tomorrow, September 3rd. That's the biggest one. That's pretty big. Pretty big. So, looks like we'll survive another week without being hit by any of those space rocks. Speaking of space rocks, though, let's check up on the American Meteor Society and get our outlook for this upcoming week. They always have really cool images on this website as well. And you can also donate to them. I would donate because they are very useful, especially when it comes to debunking UAPs. So, let's see. September offers longer nights in the northern hemisphere that tends to be less hazy than those experienced in the midsummer. In the sky, no major showers are visible from either hemisphere, but northern hemisphere enjoys the advantage of higher sporadic rates. So while there is no major activity going on right now, you might still be able to see some, simply because we have a higher rate than the southern hemisphere. So we have the Orionids. Those are going to be the next one. It is technically active. Or no, it's not active. It doesn't start till September 26th. And then it ends November 22nd. So it's probably going to be peaking around maybe the first week of November. Maybe the second week of November. And then after that, we have the Southern Taurids. And later, between October and December, we have the Northern Taurids. So not a whole lot going on in the sky right now. Not many near-Earth asteroids and not a whole lot of meteors going on. If you've ever seen a meteor, though, they're pretty cool. And when I first saw one, I was like, man, did I actually see it? Because it was so dim and fleeting. It was so quick. So that's our space weather and meteor activity outlook. Again, folks, please do consider supporting these folks. You can subscribe to Space Weather sign up for their email. You can also get text message alerts for auroras and solar activity. And for the American Meteor Society, it's a nonprofit. So, you can donate to them. And if you see something, you can even report it. Because chances are, someone else probably saw it too. Cryptozoology news and sightings. So this cryptid sighting comes from the Daily Star, which is a British tabloid. And the title here is Bigfoot footage taken by fishermen on riverbank could be unknown giant monkey. Astonishing footage from the U.S. appears to show an unusual dog or monkey-like humanoid creature, sparking some to think it might have been Bigfoot, but an expert reckons it's something else. So this article is from August 31st of this year, but the story itself is actually a year old. Down here, it'll have last year. So I'm not going to read the whole thing here verbatim, but I do have some cliff notes. And essentially what you have are, there's two guys fishing in San Benito, Texas. And what they capture is this, presumably on a cell phone. So what happens? They're out there. I guess they're fishing. They say fishermen in the article. The guy sees this thing off in the distance, whips out his phone. Cameraman, what the F? Is that a dog or what? Creature notices them, stands up on his hind legs. Cameraman says, holy S, I got that on video. Fisherman 2, what the F was that dude? Creature runs away and is lost in the foliage. So that's really all we can tell from this particular article. Now, is it a Bigfoot? I don't know. It's really hard to tell. If we come to the, where's it at? The India Times, indiatimes.com. This one here from last year, July 30 of last year. It has the same image, but it's blown up. And the article is pretty much the same. I haven't really been able to find the original footage. The only thing I've been able to find was this clip off of Creeptown, and it's 5 minutes long. So here, we'll come full screen and play that again. You can't really see much. Like, you can see the thing here, but it's only 5 seconds. So I'll play that. Run through it again here. So stands up, and then the camera just kind of pans away. You don't actually get to see it run away, but there it is. Now, this was posted, we can see, 1 month ago, so August 2nd of this year. So the story has been making its rounds, I guess, again. We'll give them a like and a subscribe. So, yeah. All right, so back to the article here. They did have a guy, this guy right here, Andy McGrath, and he's basically like, we don't know what it is. We can't really tell. It's probably not a Bigfoot, though. Why, you say? That's a good question. So, I don't know. There's no audio in the YouTube video, which originally looks like came from TikTok, but he says that it seems the reaction of the witnesses seemed natural enough, although again I would juxtapose that with their apparent lack of fear, which in itself could be explained away by their feeling safe due to the wide river that effectively puts them out of reach of the animal. Could we be dealing with some unknown species of unidentified monkey? So he doesn't really say why exactly he thinks it's not a Bigfoot. I can't tell anything, honestly, from the footage. I can't tell if it's a Bigfoot or if it's a werewolf or a dogman, but I don't know. Interesting, to say the least. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. So this week's second cryptid article comes also from the Daily Star, a British publication of tabloid journalism. The title here, "The Most Exciting Ever Pictures of the Loch Ness Monster Emerge Showing an Eel-like Creature." Photographer Chine captured the snap on a holiday in 2018, but was too afraid to reveal the exciting image of what is believed to be the legendary Loch Ness Monster. And this particular article is dated from the 31st of August this year. We have a series of 3 photographs. This is the image number 1. That's the photographer there, Miss Kelly. Here is the second image. And here is the third image. So, she was on vacation back in 2018 when she captured these photos, but she feared public ridicule, and so she didn't share them. However, for those of you that don't know, last weekend was a massive expedition on Loch Ness. In fact, it was the largest one in the past 50 years to try and find some sort of evidence of Nessie. And because of that, that kind of gave her the courage to come on out with these photos, which is interesting to say the least. So, Miss Kelly, who is 51, captured the pictures of an eel-like creature slowly spinning and moving on the surface of the water. And we come down here for her quotes, which were taken through a translator. Quote, "I have always believed there was something in Loch Ness. There is something unusual there, but I don't know what it is. What I saw looked like a serpent. It was definitely a creature, and it was moving. At first I wondered if it was an otter or a pair of otters or a seal, but we never saw a head, and it never came up again for air. It was making this strange movement on the surface. We did not hear any sound. There was these strange shapes below the surface. I could not accurately assess its length, but the 2 parts that were visible were less than 2 meters long. I don't know what it was, but it was definitely a creature, an animal." End quote. So, she thinks it could possibly be Nessie. And I mean, sure, why not? It is Loch Ness. And then we have the Nessie hunter, Stephen Feltham, chime in. He was there at the event last weekend. And of course, he's excited to have these pictures. And why wouldn't he be? He's looking for this thing. And, he says that they are vindication for all the people who believe there is something unexplained in Loch Ness. And he says, they're remarkable. And they are. It's pretty cool. And he further goes on to say that it is not driftwood. So let's look at the photos. So image number 1, we have 2 humps. I mean, they could just be trash bags floating in the river or in the loch for all I know. But trash bags don't normally do what she says they're supposedly doing. Image number 2, we only have 1 hump. Now, depending on how fast or how slow this thing was moving, we're going to see different levels of disturbance in the water. So it doesn't look like there's hardly any disturbance in that water right there. Now, there seems something's going on over here, maybe. It could just be some waves from the wind. But what's interesting is we have this white dot, and we have these 2 black dots. So if we come back to the first image, we can't really see the black dots, and we don't see the white dot either. So that kind of makes me think that it's twisting, perhaps away from us, rotating away from us. And so this first hump goes down, submerging, and this one is rolling up. Maybe. That's total speculation on my part. And then we come down here, and it's completely rolled over. Maybe. We have maybe the top of the first hump, or at least some disturbance of water. We have top of the second hump, and maybe what's the tail end of a third hump, perhaps, or it could just be the top of a crest of a wave that this thing is creating. And again, we do have this disturbance over here. So if I were to guess the order of these images, I would say this is probably going to be maybe image number 2 in the sequence. Unless this could be number 1, obviously, honestly, because the back comes up, then maybe it's backwards. So maybe this might be number 1. The back of it comes up. I don't know. It's weird. That's for certain sure. Am I going to say it's Nessie? No. Does this woman think it was less than 2 meters long? So, fine. That means that this right here, from here to here, is like 6 feet. That's a big animal. If that's 6 feet, then this right here, it's got some girth to it. So, I'm not willing to say it is Nessie. I'm also not willing to say it's not. But kudos for Miss Kelly on capturing these images, and thanks for coming forward with them. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments. Is it Nessie? Is it a piece of driftwood? I personally think it looks biological, but it could be a piece of driftwood covered in mud. I don't know. What do you think? Upcoming events. And our last segment for today, folks, is the events, which comes from me, Paranormal Operator. We have our website up. It is paranormaloperator23.com. So if you come over here under our community resources page, which is still a bit under construction, but we do have the events page up. You can find all the cool, interesting events regarding everything supernatural, paranormal, and occult. So, September 6th through 8th, we have Phenomicon in Vernal, Utah. September 15th through the 16th is the Haunted Savannah Paracon in Savannah, Georgia. September 16th through the 17th is the Mothman Festival in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. September 23rd through the 24th is the Midwest Monster Fest, which is a horror and pop culture event happening in East Moline, Illinois. September 30th is National Ghost Hunting Day. So grab a partner, find a ghost tour, and get spooky. October 2nd through the 3rd is the Exeter UFO Festival in Exeter, New Hampshire. October 5th through the 8th is the Bigfoot Base Camp Weekend in Perrysville, Ohio. October 6th through the 7th is the Hanobia Bigfoot Festival and Conference in Hanobia, Oklahoma. October 7th is the Halifax Paranormal Symposium in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. October 13th through the 14th is the South Carolina Bigfoot Festival in Westminster, South Carolina. October 20 through the 22nd is the Rougarou Festival in Yuma, Louisiana. Also that weekend, the 20th through the 22nd, is the Texas Bigfoot Conference in Jefferson, Texas. Well, folks, that's all we have for this week. If you like what you heard, please comment, like, share, and subscribe, and make sure to turn on that little notification bell. All that stuff helps out the algorithm, and it helps us to get discovered. If you like what you heard, I thank you for listening. If you didn't like what you heard, well, I thank you for listening at least this long. And hopefully, maybe, if you'll comment, we can improve what we're doing. In fact, I hope many of you have enjoyed, or at least appreciated, some of the increased production value in our podcast. You can find us on almost all of the major social media websites. Twitter and Facebook are at Paranormal Ops 23. Instagram and Rumble are at Paranormal Operator 23. Our website, which you can submit your paranormal activity reports, check out our blog, and our community resources page, is paranormaloperator23.com. If you want to reach out, you can email us at paranormaloperator23@gmail.com, or if you don't trust Gmail, there's also contact at paranormaloperator23.com. So folks, until next time, keep searching in the darkness.